Of all the birds kept in captivity, the zebra finch is thought to be the most widely kept bird. It originates from Australia and today can be seen in a number of different colour mutations all over the world. The zebra finch is thought to have first been bred in a cage by the great French ornithologist L.J.P. Villiers in 1817. Zebra finches are so adaptable to cage and aviary life that they are the best species for the beginner bird keeper, and they have now become fully domesticated. The first colour mutation, the white, appeared back in 1921. Several other colour mutations, such as fawn, silver and black cheek, have been around for many years, and more recently further colour mutations have completely altered the standard markings, like the penguin mutation. It has become so interesting to breed this cheerful little finch that some bird keepers now concentrate solely on them and breed them for competitive shows. Show standards have been set for all the varieties, and there are no less than 3 specialised zebra finch clubs in South Africa. They are relatively inexpensive to purchase. They are hardy and not particularly noisy. They are easy to sex, with a cockbird seen on the left having orange cheeks, white spots on its chestnut flanks, and black barring on its chest and throat. They are compatible with most other finch species, and they reward their owners by being prolific breeders. Finches in general, unlike parrots, are not destructive birds, so they can live in a planted aviary. Nor are they very noisy, which makes them the ideal species for people living with close neighbours. According to the authoritative book, Birds of the World, by Austin and Singer, it is estimated that there are about 690 finch species in the world. Finches can either be kept indoors in a variety of different cages, or outdoors in ready-made garden aviaries. Another option is to consider building purpose-built aviaries, which are naturally far more expensive to construct. For some enthusiasts, a walk-in aviary as seen here is the ultimate dream. The birds enjoy lots of free flight. They also have a heated shed to seek shelter during the sub-zero winter conditions. Here is another walk-in aviary. This one is 10 meters high, which is perfect for those finches that like to breed in very high nesting areas. This particular kind of cage may look very attractive, but because the birds can virtually only fly up or down like a helicopter, it is not as functional for your finches as this kind of cage, or this type of cage. Finches need to exercise their wings by flying from one perch to another, and therefore a cage with a bit of length to it is better suited for these beautiful little birds. If you're interested in breeding finches in an indoor environment, then you should consider purchasing what is referred to as a double breeder, because you can divide the cage into 2 parts by simply sliding in this divider. This allows you to keep the male apart when resting the birds from breeding. Nowadays, when inserting perches, you have different choices. The traditional dowel stick, the classic breeder cage perch, the dowel stick with some sandpaper fixed to it, which allows your bird to file its toenails and beak. The sand perch, which has varying diameters along its length to help exercise the muscles of their feet, whilst at the same time the sand coating helps to trim its nails. Or the calcium perch, which not only trims the nails and beak of your bird, but it also serves as a calcium and iodine source for your bird. If you are very practical with your hands, then you may wish to build an indoor cabinet type of cage. These 2 examples have been tailor-made to fit a particular room size. Always ensure that your cages have removable sliding trays. Alternatively, you may even wish to go as far as converting a garage or building a purpose-built bird room. Now let's visit the bird room of Dr. David Russell. He was South Africa's first avian vet. He is one of South Africa's most prominent zebra finch breeders. He will now tell us what a good bird room requires.
Ideal bird room should be spacious, a room which is easy to walk and work in, And probably from the bird's point of view, the most important aspect is lighting. The birds need very, very good light. In this particular bird room, I have the natural windows on the north side that gives ample lighting. I've also got fluorescent lighting, which we can use in the breeding season if I want to prolong the daylight hours. But as I say, to get the birds to breed successfully, they need plenty of good light. The second aspect is ventilation. It's very, very important that you have good ventilation in your bird room. And here again, I've got the windows which are open, and I've got insect screens on the windows to stop insects coming in and for any birds that escape from getting out. And this gives the room, during the hot summer months, it can get quite warm, but not sufficient to actually cause distress to the birds. Your floor should be impervious so that if you store water on it doesn't soak through. Something that is easily cleaned. In this particular flooring I've got tiles which I can scrub and wash and inside everything to keep it very clean. Obviously the average person is not going to go to that expense. They have probably wooden floors, but then they must be treated with something to seal them to enable it for easy cleaning. In this particular room I've actually got under tile heating, so in very cold winter nights I can switch on the heating to bring the temperature up to about 12 degrees so that the birds are not too cold during the very cold winter months. I have the skylight over the cages to give maximum light directly over the cages to encourage the birds to breed. The reason for having the fluorescent light, if one wants to, certain birds you need to lengthen the daylight hours to encourage them to breed. So you can actually artificially extend your breeding season. Another aspect of it is you need water, so it's very good to have a wash basin in your bird room so you can wash the food dishes and the water dishes to keep everything clean. Very important to have good double brooders. These double brooders are attached to the wall with brackets and mirror hooks that put them onto the wall so everything's kept flush. It's useful to be able to take them down and wash them, clean them, and put them back on the wall again. Then you'll notice the double brooders have a sliding door or partition, which actually partitions off sections. In this particular one, we've actually got 4 partitions where we can have all cocks flying up and down and exercising, or your young birds can fly up and down and exercise, or if you want to isolate a pair for breeding, you can isolate them for that. Also for showing, when we want to show birds, we put 1 bird per cage in preparation for the show. Zebra finches are very easy birds to keep and are actually ideal birds for the novice. For a novice to set up, you don't need many cages. You can have 1 or 2 double brooders, which allows you to breed with 4 pairs of birds. The birds themselves are relatively inexpensive, and one can graduate from average birds to top show birds if one wishes. As you can see here, we've got the birds set up for breeding. The cocks and hens are all separated out in the cages. They've got their water, fresh water every day. They get clean fresh water every day. Twice a day when they've got chicks. This little finger drawer is actually where we put the egg food in when they've got babies or when we're bringing them into condition for breeding. The seed dish is inside, and here I give them a mixture of Japanese millet, white millet and red manna. The nest box is a very small, compact nest with a lid that we can open to look inside, and I usually start the nest by putting in some grass, and it is open on the front by having a rectangular area, not a round hole. The reason I have the boxes with the open rectangular front is number 1, to allow a little bit more light into the nest, and also it allows for better ventilation. With the round nest, you often find the zebra finches, particularly when they're building the nest, they build up so much grass in there that there's virtually no opening or very small opening for them to pop in and out. And often those nests get very warm in our warm South African climate. The other ideal of having the nests outside the cage is for nest inspection. I inspect these nests daily, so I know exactly when the birds have laid their first egg, and they lay on consecutive days. They usually take 14 days for the eggs to hatch, and then it's a question of checking them twice a day to see if the babies have been fed and that everything's going according to plan. With regard to breeding, we're often asked about how close one can breed. You never breed a brother to sister, but you can breed a mother to son or a father to daughter. But ideally, one wants to establish two separate families of your best birds, and the best babies that they breed, you actually cross back over it. So then you're breeding birds in, but you can use cousins, breed cousins to one another as well. I usually take 2 rounds from every pair, but if I've got a particularly good pair, I may take a 3rd round if they haven't had too big a clutch. The average clutch is about 5 to 6. They usually raise 5 chicks at a time. But you will find some birds will lay 8 or 9 eggs, and it's quite an effort for them to raise those 8 chicks. When I wean the young birds from the parents, I put them into a double brooder so they can fly up and down and strengthen their wings and learn to eat and drink on their own. Then when they start to colour up and show the sexual differences, I separate them into cocks and hens in these flights. In this way, I find that the birds don't fight and I don't get so much feather plucking. The other thing with these flights, you notice they're very tall, and the seed is kept on down at the bottom, and the birds have to fly up and down to eat. This makes them exercise, and it develops the musculature of the body to give them better size.
If you prefer to keep your finches in an attractive outdoor planted garden aviary, make sure it is positioned facing the sun and away from the driving wind and rain. You should also ensure that you can provide adequate protection from the sub-zero winter temperatures. Whilst aesthetics, in terms of how the aviary blends in with your garden, may be important to you, it is far more important to ensure that your birds are going to live a happy and healthy life. Be sure not to overcrowd your aviary. The rough rule of thumb is that you should not have more than 1 pair of finches per cubic metre in each aviary. Good nesting sites, nests and nest boxes are also required, plus lots of nesting materials such as teff, grass, feathers, especially white, and raw cotton. Access to live food such as termites or mealworms, particularly when the birds are breeding, is with some species essential. Live food for some species provides the valuable protein and nutrition that the birds would find in the wild. A good supply of seed like canary seed, Jap millet, white millet, Niger, red manna, black rape and linseed is also needed. The seed can either be served in a mixed feeder as seen in this gravity drop feeder, or as some breeders prefer, in separate containers. This enables them to track the exact demand on each type of seed on a daily basis. In addition, sprouted seeds have been soaked in water for 24 hours, should also be given during key breeding periods. Sprouted seed is said to be 300 times more nutritious than dry seed. A good commercial soft food will help to balance the protein levels. Regular green food and fresh fruit like prickly pears, oranges, apples and bananas also help to provide the essential vitamins A, C and D. Charcoal, salt and grit help to ensure the correct roughage is taken to grind the seed in the bird's gizzard, and dried crushed eggshell and cuttlefish ensures that the birds have sufficient calcium for bone and egg development. In general, there is no fixed recipe, and you will often find bird keepers giving their birds a wide variety of foods that have been tried and tested over many years. The popular zebra finch is only one of 18 grass finches found in Australia. In this video, we will look at approximately 50 of the world's most beautiful finch species that can all be seen in South African aviaries. To make things easier for you, we have introduced a unique bird keeper's guide that will appear below each bird as seen in this example. It will give you interesting and valuable information about keeping and breeding each of these magnificent little birds. Everything is measured in terms of keeping birds in a standard 2 metre wide, 3 metre high and 4 metre long well-planted garden aviary as seen here. Your aviary should not face into the driving rain and wind. It is believed that this bird keeper's guide, which was researched among 20 of South Africa's leading keepers and breeders of exotic finches, is a first in the world of bird keeping. The eye icon, for example, will give you an idea as to how often the species is seen in South African aviculture, with 1 meaning often and 4 being very seldom. The bird icon will tell you how compatible the bird is with its own species and other birds of a similar size during its breeding season, with 1 meaning it is very compatible and 4 meaning it is not compatible at all and probably very aggressive. The nest box icon will tell you how easy the species is to breed, with 1 meaning it is very easy and 4 meaning it is extremely difficult or virtually impossible. The ant icon will tell how much live food is required to successfully breed the species, with 1 meaning that no live food is required and 4 meaning it is suggested that live food be given throughout the day when breeding. The weather icon will tell us how hardy the species is, with 1 meaning it is very hardy once settled and 4 meaning it is very sensitive to inclement weather. Now let's look again at the zebra finch to demonstrate how the bird keeper's guide works. Zebra finches, as mentioned earlier, are the ideal finch species for the beginner. In terms of the eye icon, they are widely seen in South African aviaries, so it scores a 1. The bird icon shows that they are compatible on a selective basis with other species, so the zebra finch would therefore score a 3. In terms of the nest box icon, they are very easy to breed. They will willingly breed in virtually any kind of nest, so the species was again given a 1 by the experts. They don't need live food when they are breeding, so with the ant icon it was again awarded a 1 in the research survey. Finally, because the bird is pretty hardy when settled in the garden aviary, it also scored a 1 on the weather icon. Keeping and breeding some of the other Australian grass finches often becomes the natural progression for a novice once he or she has successfully kept and bred the zebra finch. This is the subspecies of the long-tailed grass finch, which has the red instead of the yellow beak, and is usually referred to as the hex grass finch. Next to the zebra finch, this is the hardiest and most prolific breeder of all the Australian finches. They tend to pair bond for life, and a good pair will raise 20 or more youngsters in a summer season. The graceful form of these birds, with their long pair of pointed median tail feathers elongated into 2 wires, makes them highly attractive birds. Another of their delightful features is the way they continue to bob their heads up and down when they alight on a perch, as though they have a spring inside them. Whilst the male tends to have a more triangular black bib and wider trouser stripes, and the female a teardrop-shaped bib and narrower trouser stripes, one cannot be sure of having a pair until they have actually bred. With the advances in veterinary science and the development of surgical sexing, first pioneered in South Africa by Dr. Dave Russell in the early 1970s, and today practiced by avian vets all over the world, you can now settle the question beyond doubt as to whether a true pair are being housed together. More about surgical sexing versus the DNA method can be seen in part 1 of this pioneering video series. One of the attractive colour mutations of both subspecies of long-tailed grass finches that has surfaced in captivity is the fawn variety. The black of the bib and the eye and rump stripes is replaced with a dark chocolate brown, while the grey head becomes a rich fawn colour. These altered shades blend tastefully together. No wonder this new variety has become so popular amongst our serious breeders. Another very similar species, but with a grey beak and lacking the elongated tail, is the parson finch. Provided one puts a male and a female together, who form a compatible pair, they will breed either with or without live food. Like the other grass finches, they should be given a variety of nesting sites at different heights from 1 metre upwards. They are usually very agreeable birds in a mixed collection, but a pair can become aggressive when breeding. Again, the male has the triangular bib and the female has the teardrop bib. Differing more strongly from the other 3 grass finches just seen is the masked grass finch. They are somewhat gentler birds in mixed company, a little more sensitive to cold and a little more dependent on some live food for the successful rearing of their young. They often carry pieces of charcoal into their nests and spend more time on the ground than other grass finches. In the wild, they build their dome-shaped nests on or near the ground, and in captivity they will breed in open nest boxes placed just above the ground. The male has a slightly broader head and the female's beak is slightly longer. The yellow on the male's mandible on the right is also more intense, and his black trouser stripes are also slightly wider. The tiny double-barred finch has an affectionate place in many collections. They are by no means as prolific or robust as their closest relative, the zebra finch. They are sensitive to cold, but fortunately they usually roost on a nest, whether they are breeding or not. When their heads are seen peeping out of a nest, they resemble tiny owls, which has given rise to their American name of owlfinch. They tend to pair bond for life and prefer to live in aviaries as opposed to small cages. They should be given a variety of nesting sites and will accept half-open nest boxes and little woven wicker nests. Again, the species is monochromatic, and it is not easy to distinguish between the sexes. The hen with the green leg rings has a slightly thinner bar across her chest and face than the cockbird with the black ring. The cockbird also has a slightly wider head than the female. Coming from the southeastern part of Australia, where the first European settlement took place, this smart-looking bird in white, black, grey and red was the first of the Australian finches to be discovered. The early English colonists named it the diamond sparrow. It is not, of course, a sparrow, and the correct modern term is the diamond firetail. They will nest in nest boxes, dried bush, as well as wire baskets. They like to build an entrance tunnel to their nest. They sometimes become a little aggressive towards smaller seed eaters. The male's mandible, seen on the right in breeding season, goes a plum colour, whilst the female's remains red. Also, the male's head has a touch of white on its forehead, and its head is bolder than the female's head, which is more rounded. Being widespread along the entire eastern seaboard of Australia, the Sydney waxbill or red-browed finch